Greetings ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here, welcome back to the channel. Today's video will be about the Elder Scrolls Online Summerset DLC that's going to be launching on the 21st of May for PC. And guys, I cannot tell you how excited I am to be talking about Summerset. I've been wanting to make this video for weeks and weeks and weeks, and every time I try, some new information about the game comes out, so I've just waited, soaked everything in, and I now finally get to let it all out. Now this video I'm going to be covering some aspects of what's going to be coming, improved, or tweaked come update 18 Summerset, so I'm not going to be touching everything that's new and you know, that the ESO has released on their website. I'm just going to be covering the points that I see as some of the most important changes to the game. But for the full rundown, information is all over the website, as well as, you know, in videos and blogs from all the thousands of ESO content creators out there. Now, if you're a new player wondering why this DLC is going to be big for ESO, then I'm going to talk you through it. For ESO veterans, you may already know, and some of the major stuff that's going to be happening, so you may want to, you know, just skip this entirely. But there's a lot to cover, so let's get started. I'll break it down into three parts. So there's the PvE to talk about, and then there's the PvP to talk about, and then finally all the other important additions coming to the game, as well as what I think about them, because I will be jumping into Summerset when it releases for a review, which I'm pretty excited about because it's been 1 year since I did a DLC review for ESO, and that was Morrowind. So first up, PvE, what's new? Obviously, Summerset is going to be a new adventure zone that players can go to and quest and experience a brand new main story chain in addition to all those quests and dungeons and more landscape content. We'll talk about all that. But Summerset, it is the home of the High Elves, and I think if you have been playing Elder Scrolls games forever, you'll know that it's been, what, 20 plus years, 24 years since you saw Summerset in a video game format. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting. Again, it's banking on nostalgia, this DLC, just as Morrowind did, to try and get, you know, old, well, old is not really the right term, but veteran Elder Scrolls fans and players to jump into ESO to see how Morrowind looks like in a modern MMO setting with better graphics and all that stuff. So Summerset's going to be following that as well. And if you're a new player jumping into Summerset, there's going to be a brand new tutorial area for you too, so you immediately start your new class in Summerset. Same thing that happened in Morrowind. So what am I excited about? I'm obviously excited about the main story. According to ESO, the main story in Summerset is going to be concluding the main storyline that first started in the base game all the way up through the Clockwork City. So that means this could be a very epic climax that's going to be happening here in Summerset, and then the next DLC is going to be a fresh start for the story or something like that. So that's really interesting. I do like ESO's main story. I think it's really rich and deep in lore, and you know how your character's grown, and all these NPCs that they have introduced to you in addition to these iconic characters, especially Varnfell onwards, that you know and love from other ESO games. This is going to be great. I cannot wait for it. So as for PvE content, besides the main story and questing, what else is there to look forward to? Well, there's this thing called Abyssal Geysers, which are kind of new, and it reminds me of organic landscape content, having read about it now, where, you know, there's 6 Abyssal Geysers throughout Summerset where you can go, and as a group, you take down waves of bosses and stuff for cool rewards. Now, landscape content in this organic fashion is something I thought that was sorely missing from Morrowind and even Clockwork City. And in the base game, we used to have a lot of that, you know, with dolmens. When dolmens come down in various parts of, you know, the ESO zones, you know, it brought players together without even trying. So everybody's converging on that point and trying to get the content done, trying to get the dolmen, you know, done and get the rewards and then just disperse. So I think Summerset, depending on how often these Abyssal Geysers spawn or whatever, I think it's going to be really, really cool. So that means more landscape organic content, which is a thumbs up. For you dungeon runners, you're not being forgotten. There's going to be new dungeons, a new trial, and solo delves as well. I believe there's going to be 6 delves in Summerset if you happen to chance upon them on the landscape. Explorations there, and all these achievements you get for exploring a delve and all that good stuff. Those are all coming back, so lots to do. Questing, main story, dungeon, trial, Abyssal Geysers, these new organic landscape content, and then delves as well. So overall, I think there's going to be a lot to do, and I just hope that, you know, it is sufficient enough to keep us satisfied when it comes to landscape content. Now, branching out a little bit from PvE content, Summerset's going to be introducing a few new orders, and if you're a new player, you're wondering what are orders. Orders are basically organizations that players can interact with and sometimes join. So in the basic game, you had like the Fighters Guild, you got the Mages Guild, and then with the later DLC, Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood. So there's going to be a few new orders in Summerset, and the main one that they're, you know, just pushing out there is the Psychic or Sigic order. Now, I'm not sure how to pronounce this properly, so I do apologize if I get it wrong, but this new order is going to be playing a crucial part of the main story, and it's also going to be giving players a brand new skill line. Now, looking at some of the previews and reading about this Sigic Order skill line is actually really interesting, because on paper it sounds like a Doctor Strange kind of skill line, because it's all about time control and time manipulation, which sounds really, really cool. But, you know, deep diving into it, it's more of a CC line. And the very cool thing about this skill line is that it's for everybody. It's for healers, it's for DPS, it's for tanks. There's a lot of these that can, you know, significantly improve how you play your class in terms of mana and magicka and stamina regeneration, for example. My favorite part about this skill line is the one of the ultimate skills, which is called Undo, which basically rolls back your character's health, magicka, and stamina to a few seconds ago. So it's almost like a time shift going back a few seconds, which I think it's really awesome, and I cannot wait to see how that works on the landscape. And I just got a hunch, I just have a hunch that this is going to be super popular in PvP. You know, like when you know you're about to take the killing blow and then you hit undo and just go back a few seconds and then have your buddy healer just pop you up with full health. I mean, I can see it being pretty popular in PvP. Not sure how that will apply to PvE, but I'm sure there's going to be uses for it. And how you get this skill line is by joining the Sigic order to get it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. It's definitely one of the things that I'm looking forward to going and getting, and seeing how I can add that into my rotation, because some of these active abilities and passives look really, really good for players. So that's one thing to keep an eye out for. Branching out now to PvE character progression, and this is also pretty big for ESO, and that is the addition of jewelry crafting. Previously, jewelry have to be obtained via dungeons or, you know, landscape drops and, you know, stuff like that, and they're kind of hard to get to because some of these jewelries, you know, your rings and your necklaces will have stat bonuses that you want to keep an eye out for, and you have to farm certain dungeons for it to drop. And now ESO is giving you the ability to craft your own. Based on what they've said so far, you know, crafting jewelries are going to be a little complex compared to crafting anything else in the game. So this could be really interesting, and I do like them giving us the option now to be fully self-sufficient, so we can pretty much just craft everything. So I do like having jewel crafting in there. For me personally, I don't have enough skill points, so I have like less than a week to go and grind skill points to put into jewel crafting so I can start crafting these jewelries. As for materials and stuff, again, they say it's a bit more complex in ways of how players obtain crafting materials for jewelry, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. But again, this is a great addition. It's one more means for player progression when it comes to crafting, and I am looking forward to it. Up next, let's talk about combat changes, and this one is a pretty big deal as well. I really like what they're trying to do with the combat come update 18 in Summerset, so let's get straight into it. The first combat change involves two-handed weapons. So they're going to be making two-handers more effective when it comes to, you know, item set bonuses. For example, two-handed weapons like your restoration or your destruction staves and your two-handed great swords or axe or whatever, these are now going to be counted for 2 item bonus sets. So that is great news for those of you that have you know, refrained from using two-handers and prefer dual wielding, because, you know, one weapon in each hand counts for 1 item bonus set. Now they're adding 2 to two-handers, which makes sense because that counts for 2 weapons in there. So that means that, you know, completing or getting the full item bonus set or whatever is going to be easier, and it's not going to punish players who prefer using two-handers over single-handed weapons. So I think that's great, and that gives you more ways to build your class and, you know, create your own ideal playstyle. So I really like this change. The second combat change that's worth talking about is what they're trying to do with basic and heavy attacks, and I really like the sound of this. So basically, ESO's always envisioned that, you know, basic attacks, which are your left mouse buttons, tapping it is your basic light attacks. They've always thought of it as, you know, more of a DPS kind of thing, and they want that to add more output to your overall damage, whereas the heavy attacks, which is holding down your left mouse button to do heavy attacks, is all about, you know, regeneration for stamina or magicka depending on your build. Come Summerset, they are now enforcing this properly, so that means apparently when Summerset launches, your basic attacks will put out more DPS than ever before. So that's interesting, because for me personally, I have never ever used more than the usual normal basic attacks for anything DPS related in my rotation. I play a Templar, Magicka Templar, and a lot of my DPS comes from firing off spells. You know, for damage output. I've never added light attacks in between skills to add more DPS, because, you know, when I'm using a destruction staff, the heavy attack is going to grant me my magicka back anyway. So basic attacks in between just felt like time waster, and it just didn't mean anything because the damage was so minimal. It didn't really, I didn't feel like I was contributing enough with basic attacks. So this combat changer is going to be making basic attacks more viable when it comes to adding more overall DPS to your DPS output. So I'll keep an eye on that come release and see if that is actually true or not. As for restoration, your heavy attacks, they're also going to be, you know, restoring more stamina and magicka, so I do like that change. Again, there's a lot of changes in this update that I really like. Everything is actually sounding really cool. So combat changes, again, gets a thumbs up. I do like this. Let's now go to the PvP front and talk about PvP. I think I've said this twice now in this video, but again, this is pretty big. First up, let's talk about PvP Battlegrounds, and for those of you that don't know, Battlegrounds are ESO's version of Arena PvP, so it's 4 versus 4 versus 4, and it takes place on, you know, maps with different modes, for example, capture the flag, capture the ball, or, you know, those kind of things. And what's going to be happening here is that Battlegrounds are going to be moving to the base game, which means it is free for everyone to play as long as you have the base game. This is a superb change, because when Battlegrounds launched with Morrowind, if you did not own the Morrowind DLC, you couldn't enter Battlegrounds. So it almost, you know, for about a year now, that means everybody who owned Morrowind were the only ones who could jump into Battleground and get the new achievements, get the new Battleground gear and whatever. Now, players who own the base game can now jump into Battlegrounds as well, which is great, because that means fresh blood, new players, more population, more of the ESO population playing PvP Battlegrounds, which means queues are going to be poppin'. And, you know, it's something I said in my Morrowind review almost a year ago, that I thought at least ESO should make one map and one mode free for all players to give them a taste of what Battlegrounds look like. And that will entice them to go and buy Morrowind. Apparently that wasn't necessary at all, because I think a large portion of the player base went and bought the Morrowind DLC anyway, so I don't think they needed to do that. But this is great, so that means if you're a new player or just jumping in recently into ESO, you can now experience PvP Arena / Battlegrounds for free. There's no additional purchase needed, so that is pretty awesome. And sticking with Battlegrounds, you know, to make it more enticing for you to participate, there's going to be new daily quests for Battlegrounds, in addition to new rewards as well. So if you get first place or even second place, you know, you're going to get some of these Battle Master reward chests or whatever. And there's going to be exclusive rewards only from Battlegrounds, for example. New style stuff that only comes from PvP Battlegrounds, so you may want to consider that if you're looking for new style and jump into Battlegrounds. And, you know, I've done some recently for my Twitch Friday Night Fight series, and even on the losing side, like getting third, I still got rewards because I picked up those daily Battleground quests. So that means, you know, whatever it is, even if you feel like your gear's not up there or you're getting your ass kicked, at least you still feel, okay, I'm getting something out of this. So definitely kudos for making this change. I think this is pretty good. The PvP tweaks and additions that are really exciting me have to do with the Alliance War, which is Cyrodiil, you know, the faction v faction v faction on Cyrodiil map. There's going to be a couple of things in here that are really exciting to hear, and the first one for me, the big one, is the changes they're doing to rewarding players in terms of contribution. how are you going to be getting alliance points for contributing? So they've made a couple of changes here that remind me a lot of Guild Wars 2, which is a their version of this. The world versus world is just awesome, and I love it. So basically now, as long as you are fighting on an objective, be it a keep you're defending or attacking, or an outpost, or as long as you are there fighting, healing, just spewing heals, just doing something to contribute to the fight, you will be credited 4 alliance points at the next tick, at the next reward tick. So that again very much follows the Guild Wars way of things of doing things, whereby if you're in a location and you're actively participating in the fight, that means you are getting contribution points, which is going to tick the next time the rewards tick. So I do like that. That means there's more incentive for you to go out there and try and do something with the general pug, or just join your guild out there and just help, and you will get rewarded for that. There's something in here about how defending keeps is going to be worth more, especially if depending on the keeps score or something like that. And it's not like you can just log in and just walk up there, not do anything, and just stand there while people are fighting, defending, and get anything. No, you have to actively contribute, even if you're in a group. So I think that's a pretty decent change. And up next, performance improvements. Good to hear. First things first, let's talk about performance improvements in general. ESO, come Summerset, they're going to be making the game use more CPU cores for the client, which means that if you're playing on the PC, on a high-end machine, you should see an overall increase to frame rates, which is great to hear. And for those of you on consoles, there's going to be some performance improvements as well, especially in terms of character load times, which is also good to hear. From the PvP front, they also have been making a little tweaks here and there to server stability. I think it's something to do with passive effects or something like that, just to reduce the stress and load on the server for PvP. So hopefully that will address a lot of the lag and latency and rubber banding issues that players have been facing on Cyrodiil, the big PvP map in general. So it will take some time, I think a few weeks after launch, to actually see if this issue is fixed or not. So again, good news there. Performance improvements are always good to hear, and yeah, that's good news, right? Alright, moving along here, and this is the final one that I wanted to bring up. I think I've touched all the important points, or I wanted to highlight all the important stuff that means something to me. And this one is going to be interesting for all players, I feel, because Elder Scrolls Online is going to be adding daily login gifts. So daily login rewards are going to be a thing on Elder Scrolls Online come Summerset DLC launch on May the 21st. How weird is that, saying that there's going to be daily login rewards for ESO? Look, some of the stuff that you can get for logging daily are going to be currency like gold and alliance points for PvP, and I believe towards the end of the month there are things like crown crates and collectible items and stuff like that. So it's not like, there's going to be anything, I don't know, pay to win or stuff like that in the daily rewards. I don't think that's a thing. But the cool thing is, if you miss a couple of days or whatever, it's all cumulative. So that means whenever you log back in during that month, it's just going to stay there. You pick up right where you left off the last time. But all the daily login rewards will reset come the first of the next month. So pretty much standard, every other MMO that has this will do that. Now, speaking of which, why now? Why now? Why after 4 years do they introduce these daily login rewards? And the truth is, I think looking at it from a bigger picture, daily login rewards gifts is almost like a tropey thing now that MMOs do. It's almost becoming a trend, or was a trend, and now it's like a staple. There's lots of MMORPGs, both free-to-play, buy-to-play, that actually have these. And in some of those games, especially free-to-play, it's almost looked upon as, such a gimmicky thing. It's not like it matters anyway. But it's still nice to have, I think that by having daily login rewards, you are giving your player base an incentive to be active and play every day, especially if the end of the month rewards are something really valuable. That gives people a goal, okay, I've got 3 more days before I can pick up this awesome new mount or something. So that in itself is a fun, well, it's a clever way to retain players, to keep players playing the game. And I think it's something that You know, it's not like, I don't think people are going to complain. I mean, you're getting gifts for free. There's no reason to complain. Just take it and roll with it and be thankful that it's free, you know? So I do appreciate having daily login reward gifts now, because, you know, like Guild Wars 2 has it, for example. And the thing about Guild Wars 2 is that it's very, very, very tangible. Some of these, especially at the end of the month, give you real benefits to account-wide gold gain, currency gain, and karma gain. And, you know, so it's like a real valuable thing for you to play actively and get those stuff. So if ESO can do the same thing, you know, like I said, I think players will appreciate that and will stick around longer. It's not going to be the main reason why players play ESO, like I said, but, you know, it's just nice having it. So kudos to ZeniMax for having the foresight to do this. I'm not sure it's going to get any backlash, but that's my thoughts about the daily login rewards. You guys, you know, have your own opinion, so feel free to share that in the comment section below. And really, that is about all the stuff that I wanted to cover and highlight, and I am missing a whole bunch of other additions to ESO and other tweaks as well, but these are the main stuff that I want to talk about, because these are big, and I really like some of the changes they're doing, especially to combat now, and with the new Psychic/Physic skill line that's going to give me more ways to build my character and play. The new story sounds really exciting. If they're gonna do an epic wrap-up, then I cannot wait, because I've loved the story in ESO. I enjoyed the Morrowind playthrough. You know, I'm making my way through Clockwork City as we speak, and I'm loving that a lot. So Somerset's gonna be really, it's gonna be an epic conclusion if it does conclude the main story. The Abyssal Geezers landscape organic content, again, I think it's Somerset's version of the dolmens on, you know, in the base game. So I like that, because like I said, it brings players together, and I think ESO has sorely missed that going into the other DLC zones. So it's nice to see more organic landscape content that's not like landscape bosses, because landscape bosses are just there and there's no urgency to do it. So once like a group of people have done it, there's no urgency to go back and do them again. So new players going through the content will be like, they have to go out of their way to find people who want to kill these bosses or whatever. So I'm hoping these Abyssal Geezers are going to be more organic, and it doesn't take as much effort, you know, to bring players from all over the map to do them. And yeah, PvP is big as well. I'm really looking forward to it. New blood in Battlegrounds means that, you know, there's gonna be people that's gonna be way worse than me, so I'm not gonna stick out like a sore thumb. And but no, overall, I'm just happy to hear that. So that means, you know, faster queues and more players, and of course, I'll be jumping the Cyrodiil a lot more now that I know that contribution points are gonna work just like Guild Wars 2. And yeah, it'll be interesting, you know. In the future, I could come up with a comparison and, you know, stuff like ESO's Alliance War versus Guild Wars versus World, and yeah, I have just so many ideas that I have with ESO's PvP, and I'm looking forward to it. And overall, to finish this video, look, I just want to say, it may sound like it's a biased perspective and stuff like that, but, you know, truly, when you look at it from the bigger picture, from a neutral perspective, what ESO has been doing to the game, the MMORPG, since launch is just nothing short of incredible. And that's why I think ESO is one of those games that is just the gift that keeps on giving, you know, because it sort of, it knows what to add to the game. It's just the right move to make sure that players feel like, oh, that's great, that's a great change, this is good, it should have been there earlier, but at least we're getting to it now, you know. And this calendar year alone, you know, starting with Dragon Bones, the DLC for Dragon Bones, what, they've added the outfit system, which is something we've always wanted and have been asking for. They've added in housing chests, you know, to give players more convenience when it comes to storage, and you don't have to, you know, go ESO Plus if you don't want to. You can just a la carte buy these. It also makes sure that there's a real value of having houses, a real meaningful purpose for houses now, because you can now put storage in them. And based off that, now we come to Somerset with all these good stuff coming. Jeweler crafting, daily login rewards, combat changes, PvP tweaks, free battlegrounds for all players, new story, new landscape content, new skill lines, new orders to join and play with. I mean, there's just so much good stuff. It's like ESO's taking, you know, multiple leaps forward, but not necessarily taking steps back. And I'm not saying ESO doesn't have its flaws. Of course it does. I think ESO has problems, and a lot of us sure do have issues with ESO. I get that, but it's just what they're adding and tweaking to the game on a consistent basis now. If you look at what Morrowind brought to the table, and then the Dragon Bones, and then now Somerset, and even prior to Morrowind, the one Tamriel, I think that's where it all started, and that's why I say ESO is the gift that keeps on giving. But you know, I won't be afraid to speak my mind. If there are things that suck about Summerset, you will hear it from me. I don't shy away from critiquing a game, but you know, for now, just based on these changes, it's great. And I haven't jumped into the PTS, even though I was contacted about that just to go check it out. I don't want to spoil anything for myself, especially since I know that the new skill line will require you to play through the Sijik/Shijik order story in order to get the new skill line. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to spoil it for myself, so I'm just gonna wait and see. So that is my thoughts about the Summerset DLC. I've already pre-ordered the damn thing, and I cannot wait. It's only a few days away, and you know, that's 7 days of me just jumping in, because Bless Online is going to be coming out on the 28th, and I'm obviously going to be jumping in that for a new player review, so that is the big review. But for a DLC review, Summerset's going to hold my attention for about a week, and I'm, you know, excited. I'm raring to go. So I'll see you guys in Summerset, for those of you that play on the North American mega server. I think my name's like Havelheim, whatever, so just add me up there and you can chat about Summerset while you make your way through it as well. So that's it for me, guys. For those of you that play ESO, feel free to share your thoughts about the Summerset DLC in general. What's exciting you the most? What new additions and what features are exciting you the most? And what are you looking forward to? Or, you know, just share your thoughts about everything else that's not exciting, I suppose. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I cover more than Elder Scrolls Online. I do reviews, discussion videos, live streams for all MMOs out there. And just hit the subscribe button and you'll see what I'm talking about. Alrighty, that's it for me, you guys. Once again, I'm Adrian, and I thank you for watching. Roses are red, violets are blue. If you want to watch more videos, click on these cards. Anyone would do. And if you want to watch more videos, subscribe to the channel with the button down here. I know you want to.